All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Madison Elliott. I'm the drug and alcohol person here at Talbot County Public Schools. Me and Beth Williams sitting next to me do monthly webinars on drug, alcohol related topics related to youth and adolescents. Today's topic is on the rise of prescription drug use. It's going to be on like counterfeit prescription medicine, and then new trends, new drugs that have come out relating to prescription drugs and how that is affecting teens and adolescents. Any questions, feel free to type it in at the Q&A at the bottom. We will both answer questions at the end. This is being recorded as well, and it will be posted. If you wanted to share this with anybody, it will be posted, or you can email me directly to get the link for it. All right, I'm going to share my screen. There we go. Don't need this anymore. And here's slideshow. I'm going to pass it over to Beth to get started. Let me get this up here so we don't get that in your way.
Would you advance it? Just push this one.
Yeah, or just put the space
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to Madison for allowing me to be here again with you today. It's always a pleasure, and I always appreciate so much your time invested in learning more about these types of issues, and hopefully benefiting our kids in the meantime. We are going to just talk briefly today about some new trends that we're seeing. Xylazine and kratom are two kind of new drugs coming down the pike. And also I'm going to give you a little update on counterfeit prescription drug misuse. We've talked about that, I think a few months ago in another webinar, but I wanted to just keep building on that since that is such an issue right now. Okay.
Or I guess you could do is over here.
Very good.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I guess these arrows in.
Okay. There we go. Okay. So just a kind of a review of what we're seeing now. These are 2021. This is 2021 data. I have some numbers that are a little bit more updated, but just the number of overdose deaths by all ages from 1999 to 2021. And you can see the incredible increase between August of 21 and August of 22. We've had similar numbers, but you can see the numbers for 2021, which of course was in the middle of the pandemic. We had 106,699 drug-involved overdoses in this country. Okay, what am I doing now over here?
I'll just, love to click it.
So of those 106,699, okay, yeah, that was between August 21 and August of 22. 66% were opioid related. 16,706 of those were other prescription synthetic opioids, not including methadone. So that does include, here's 66 involved fentanyl. 66%. So we can see that, you know, the prescription and synthetic prescriptions, counterfeit prescriptions, and fentanyl are really what we're looking at. And they're really kind of one and the same. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. In Maryland, 81.4% of overdoses involved fentanyl. So you can see that we are, you know, 15 or more % higher than the percentage for the whole country in terms of fentanyl related overdoses. So Maryland does definitely still have a growing fentanyl problem. Total Maryland overdoses for that same time period were 13,623, and that's all drug overdoses. Early data for September through September 2022. You know, there's always a data lag, so it takes sometimes 4, 6, 8 months for us to get the total complete accurate numbers. But from what we know up through September 2022, it was 79,117 Americans died from overdoses. That's an average of 26,000 a quarter. So you can see that's 3/4 of the year. We can safely say that at 79,000 added to the average for the other 3/4, we're going to be over 100,000 again. Okay. Among the drugs, I apologize, this is a little foggy, the writing. I tried to get it as clear as I could so we could see it, but you can see that the gray line, which is a line that's going way up, is synthetic opioids other than methadone, and that is primarily fentanyl causing these overdoses by far of any of the other classes or types or names of drugs. The blue line shows prescription opioids, non-natural and semi-synthetic opioids and methadone. So that number is still high. It's pretty much maintaining where it has been all along. Okay. So I'm going to give you a bunch of numbers, and not to, I don't usually like to talk about a lot of numbers, but I think it's important. This data is very recent. It's from it's not the risk assessment data. It's another one that's written on my one of the other slides. But this is among young people in 2022. So in the last 12 months from when they took the survey, they're answering on the survey date, they're looking back the last 12 months of their life. And the reason I like to show this is not for us to memorize numbers, but just to get a feel for really what is going on among our young people, 12th graders, 8th graders. Sometimes it goes down even to 6th grade. This one seems to cover 8th, 10th, and 12th. But we can see 5% of 12th graders report misusing any prescription. I'm sorry, 5% of 12th graders, 3.2% of 8th graders, 3% of 10th, and 2% of 12th graders. So that's about 3% in general are misusing amphetamines. And amphetamines do include drugs like Ritalin or Adderall. And we know that, mostly around 1% of our youth between 8th and 12th grade are misusing Ritalin. And that, of course, is the drug that is sometimes prescribed for people that have attention deficit disorder or ADD or ADHD. And we did have a webinar about that a few months ago. But those drugs are very highly abused right now. You can see, it looks like small percentages, but when you look in the larger numbers, it really is staggering that our youth are still getting access at a young age to OxyContin. They're getting access to Vicodin. These are pain relieving types of drugs. That's what it is. It's the Monitoring the Future survey. And that one seems to be a little bit ahead of some of the other surveys that we do. But that is a longitudinal survey that's been going on, I believe, at least 30 years. Okay. A couple more numbers. So we're looking at 2% of our seniors are misusing sedative drugs, which are drugs that are depressants that calm us down. Same with tranquilizers. Below, you can see close to 2% are misusing tranquilizers. Again, 12th graders, 1.7% report misusing narcotics other than heroin. And there's where we see the Adderall at the bottom there, where we're looking at 2 to 3% or more misusing Adderall in the past 12 months. And what is happening with those particular drugs, Adderall and Ritalin, is youth are thinking that they can use those as kind of performance enhancers for in sports or getting better grades in school. And the reality is that those two medications do not help someone who does not have an attention deficit disorder. So it won't just make a young person, all of a sudden do better in school and get better grades. Okay, so xylazine is something new that's been coming down the pike, and I've been curious about it, so I've done some research on that to present to you. Xylazine is a commonly encountered with fentanyl, combined with fentanyl. But it can also be mixed in, cocaine, heroin, and other substances. It is not a controlled substance under the U.S. Controlled Substances Act. And it comes in liquid form, either in a vial that would be drawn up in a syringe, but also readily available for purchase, as many other things are on the internet in liquid and powder form. So what is xylazine? Recently, the DEA released an alert about the widespread threat of xylazine. It is found right now in all 50 states. It's pervasive. It's epidemic levels in the Northeast United States, and one of the most fast spreading drugs in terms of levels of use. Most concentrated in the Philadelphia area, which is, of course, only an hour and a half or so from us. The threat specifically states that xylazine is making the deadliest drug our country has ever seen, which is fentanyl, even deadlier. And in 2022, xylazine was found in 23% of fentanyl powder and 7% of pills that were seized by the DEA. Okay, so what is it? Xylazine is a veterinary tranquilizer. It was invented around 1962 to be used as a sedative or muscle relaxant for large animals in a veterinary setting. It has no approved human use. It is commonly known as trank dope, Fetty powder. Authorities that are seeing the misuse of xylazine call it the zombie drug, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Comes in liquid form for injection. It has, most of the time, it has no taste, smell, or distinctive color. It's like a clear liquid. Causes heavy sedative effects similar to opioids, but it is not an opioid. However, it is often being added to fentanyl to extend the duration or to bulk up the high effects of fentanyl. Fentanyl is a very fast acting opioid. It takes effect very quickly. It leaves the body very quickly. Xylazine extends that out. It can be up to 8 hours that it extends that fentanyl high or the the opioid effect that happens. What we need to remember about xylazine is it does not respond to Narcan. So we know that fentanyl is an opioid and it does respond to Narcan if somebody overdoses. They can get a dose of Narcan and it will, hopefully bring them back into a good breathing pattern. Xylazine does not. So it may affect how the Narcan works, how quickly it works, how effectively it works. If somebody has fentanyl with a large amount of xylazine injected or cut into that, it may affect how the person would be able to come out of an overdose. That being said, when we give Narcan, we always want to give it when we see someone who is exhibiting the signs, regardless of what we think they may have taken or not taken. Okay, so xylazine, again, it's mostly a liquid. It's swallowed, inhaled, smoked, snorted, or injected into the muscle or the vein. There is no information out there about xylazine being vaped. Has rapid onset within minutes and can last 8 hours or longer, depending upon the dose, the way it was taken, and whether it was mixed with an opioid or other drugs. So we know that drugs that are either injected or inhaled are reach the system in a matter of, very few seconds. So that can affect, the way it was taken can affect how long it actually shows effects in the person. So the effects are a dangerously low blood pressure. Remember, this is a sedative drug used to sedate very large animals. So people, if a human being is taking this, that might be 150 pounds, they're going to have effects that can be extremely dangerous or life-threatening. Dangerously low blood pressure, slows breathing and heart rates. There's a little typo I forgot to do there, but that's sorry about that. Heart rates that can result in death. The heart rate or the respiration rate can get so slowed down that it can, the person can die. The most horrendous and awful thing about xylazine is that it can cause damage to tissue around an injection site, which leads to skin damage, large sores, ulcers that may develop into really complex, serious infections that can be life-threatening or lead to tissue death. So this is why they call it the zombie drug. I did not put pictures on here of some of these effects because they are absolutely horrific. If you Google xylazine, you will see photographs that you will not be able to get out of your mind. It is horrendously damaging to tissue, and people have had amputations. They will have fingers or toes just fall off. It's horrendous. So it's probably good for everyone to see, just to kind of bring home how serious this is, but it's extremely disturbing. And on some of the streets of larger cities, particularly Philadelphia, that has a large xylazine problem. A lot of their drug substance use outreach workers who go on the streets and give people Narcan and fentanyl test strips and some of those other things are also equipped with medical bags to, try to bandage some of this or clean out some of these wounds. Really horrendous effects from xylazine. Okay, what am I doing here? Okay, back. Withdrawal effects of xylazine. Now remember, if somebody has xylazine in their system, it's probably been cut with something else, and most likely an opioid and most likely fentanyl. So along with all the withdrawal effects from opioids and fentanyl, you may also, under the effects of xylazine, have migraines, double vision, nausea, numbness in fingers and toes, body sweats, and what they call body rattling anxiety. There is no medical protocol yet to manage xylazine in the system. Some of the opioid drugs, they'll use Narcan, they'll use other substances to, in a medical setting to try to help the person endure the withdrawal. But there is no, nothing there yet that's set in stone medically to manage it. So the person may, be taking, or under medical care to get through that withdrawal for opioids, which we've said before is like a bad case of the flu. It's chills, it's vomiting, it's clamminess, body cramps, muscle aches, those kind of things. So that might be managed, but then if there's xylazine involved, you're still going to have all these other withdrawal effects. Really bad stuff out there. So let's switch now over to talking a little bit about counterfeit medications. Counterfeit medications are fake medications that have different ingredients than the actual medication. It may contain no active ingredient at all. It may have the wrong active ingredient, or it may have the right ingredient, but in incorrect qualities or quantities. These medications are often purchased by consumers who believe them to be legitimate treatments, but they're going online pharmacies that maybe are not legitimate, pharmacies in another country, to try to get medications cheaper. So people that purchase these may honestly believe that they're legitimate. An estimated 80% of counterfeit drugs come from overseas, manufactured in India, Mexico, and China. Okay. So they're dangerous because poisonous ingredients have been found in counterfeit medications or medicines. And we use that for this particular section of this webinar. We're using that in quotations because these are not medicines. Typical inactive ingredients other than poisonous substances or things like fentanyl are added that may include chalk, gypsum, acetaminophen, flour, talcum powder, and sugar. And these are typical and very common additives that are used when people are cutting drugs. Either they're cutting cocaine or they're cutting heroin, anything that's a powder. They will cut with things that, dilute down, so to speak, or, decrease the potency of the drug. So these are very commonly used in many other illicit drug production. It may contain other ingredients, other potent pharmaceuticals, dangerous chemicals, or designer drugs concocted in an illegal lab. And we've talked about designer drugs, and it's similar to what we're talking about with counterfeit. People can have a small lab and a, fairly okay, decent knowledge of chemistry, and they can go online and buy pill molds. They can buy, ways to imprint identifying information on a pill. They can buy a lot of not medications, but a lot of the materials that are necessary to make these pills. So they can make them look exactly like what the legitimate pill is. And we had I think it might have been our last presentation or 2 presentations ago. If you all are interested, you could find that since it's been recorded. But typically you cannot tell the difference between something that's a counterfeit drug or a designer drug, kind of the same thing, and what is supposed to be a real medically useful prescription. Okay. Again, we have, how are the amounts calculated? This is always the issue with any substance that someone buys, either on the internet or a street drug or from another person. We don't know what the amounts of these different things that are put into it are. There's no, trusted recipe. There's no way to measure, people are not measuring exactly what's going into this. So the amount of active ingredient could be too high. There might not be any active ingredient. It might be a completely counterfeit pill. If the dose is too low, obviously someone who needs that medication is not going to get a good treatment outcome, because they're not getting enough of the legitimate piece of the medication that they need. And, possible death, as with all other substances that are misused, due to excessive or inadequate amounts of a product or possible drug interactions. So what we advise, and we've advised this in our previous webinars, is for consumers to be very careful about where they're getting their medications. We advise working directly with a pharmacist in a legitimate pharmacy, or your medical provider through them. Do not use, online pharmacies or, pharmacies from overseas that are promising that they can get you, legitimate medications for your condition at cheaper prices. We would really advise not doing that at all, even though it may be enticing for people to see a lower price for a prescription, but it can come with tremendous risks. Okay. So examples of so-called medicines that may be sold on the street and that may contain fentanyl include, here's the number you might see imprinted on a pill. It's called pink. You might see, brand name Xanax or alprazolam, or ketamine. Hydrocodone, which the brand name Vicodin has been discontinued. So if you see Vicodin, it's probably going to be a counterfeit medication, or even cocaine and heroin. All of these can contain fentanyl. And as we know, fentanyl, I always hate to kind of say the same thing, but it is literally everywhere. I thought I had another thing about fentanyl on here, but we'll move through to Kratom, and we'll see, kind of, this is something else that we're hearing of. And I was curious about it because I've been hearing a little bit out in the field. And so I wanted to, again, look into that and bring you up to date on this, because it is something that you may see. So this is what Kratom looks like. It comes in, it's a pretty leafy green, comes from a tree, and we'll get to that in a second. It can be in a powder form, a liquid form. It can be, powder can be made into capsules, or of course, with any liquid or powder, you can always make it into a handy dandy pill. Okay. It is a herbal stimulant drug traditionally used in parts of Asia. Laborers and farmers traditionally have chewed the leaves to provide energy and relief from, pain and muscle strains from hard labor, kind of similar to when they chew the coca leaves, which are where we get cocaine derived from, where they would chew the indigenous people in some of these countries do chew on the leaves to get a stimulant effect, kind of, perk them up a little bit. Okay. Again, it refers commonly to an herbal substance that can produce opioid and stimulant-like effects, which is very unusual that you can get both. Street names, Thang, Kakwam, Tom, Ketum, or Biak can be used to self-treat pain, anxiety, depression, fatigue, drug cravings, and withdrawal symptoms. A lot of people are using this in our country now for treating their opioid withdrawal. It kind of calms them down a little bit. I guess it must have something in its formula that simulates or mimics an opioid drug in a way that it also calms the person down. Or they use it as a substitute for opioid drugs. How administered? Sometimes people swallow the raw plant matter, either in a capsule or powder form. They mix the powder into food or drinks. They brew the leaves into tea, chewing the leaves, or taking liquid kratom extract. Okay. So the effects, people who use report both stimulant-like effects increased energy, alertness, rapid heart rate, probably rapid respiration as well. And also effects similar to opioids and sedatives, relaxation, pain relief, confusion, maybe fogginess. So interesting substance there. Effects of use can include nausea, constipation, dizziness, and drowsiness. Rare but very serious effects could include mental and neurological symptoms, possibly confusion, tremors, seizures, heart and lung problems, including high blood pressure, slow respiration, severe gastrointestinal problems, nausea and vomiting, and liver problems. Again, very rare, but they are very serious if they do occur. Compared to other drugs, there's a very small number of deaths that have been linked to these products. Most of the deaths involved it being combined again with other drugs or contaminants. So sometimes it's not necessarily the substance that it turns out to be the most dangerous, but it's that combined with some other kind of a contaminant that maybe a person may have an allergic reaction to, or just combined with, an illicit drug causes severe effects. Okay. So among people 12 or older in 2021 in our country, about 1.7 million people reported using kratom in the last 12 months. In 1979, the Thai government enacted their Narcotics Act, placing it along with marijuana in a Category 5 classification of narcotics. So that means, questionable, possible down the road medical use, but there are currently no medical approved uses for it in the US. Now, I did read that the FDA is supporting some further research into kratom for possible medical use down the road. Again, like we've talked before many times about the availability of just about anything a person could want or need on the internet. People can get the leaves whole or crushed. They can buy powder, extract, encapsulated powder, or what they call pies, which are extracted resin made into small pellets. And if someone wants to grow it at home, they can also buy seeds and whole trees on the internet. And right now it is not considered illegal in this country, but there's no medical approved use. Okay. Oh, okay. Let's see if there's any questions. I had a couple slides I put, but they must not have gone on there. Okay. Okay.
Did you want to keep going?
No, that's it. I thought I had added a couple more at the end, but again, and we've talked about this before in terms of the importance of prevention and how important it is to have open lines of communication with our kids, to notice any changes at all that are unusual for them. Sometimes we say, oh, that's just typical adolescent behavior, but we want to look for something that's unusual to our child that lasts, longer than an isolated incident. So if they have one flare of anger, that's like, well, that's not like my kid, but let's wait and see. But if they're having outbursts of anger all the time or isolating themselves, those kind of things, we always want to watch for that. One of the things parents can also do is to keep a couple of phone numbers handy. I had these on the slide, but you can look up SAMHSA, the helpline for SAMHSA, SAMHSA. It's the Federal Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration. They have a treatment finder that you can find. I think it's just treatmentfinder.gov on the internet. And they also have a emergency helpline. So if parents, it doesn't even have to be an emergency. If you feel like something's unusual, you're not quite sure what to do. If you can't find any local resources, and which is difficult in living in our rural area, we don't have a lot of really solid resources here. You can use some of these government resources to help you. They can send you materials. You can go online and get access to a lot of the materials that they have. Okay.
Does anybody have any questions, comments? I'm trying to look at the, stop the share. There we go. Any questions, comments? I was gonna check just in case.
All right.
Anything doesn't pop up. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, everybody.
And so me and Beth usually do these every month. Feel free to email, send me ideas if you want to learn more about a specific drug topic. We'll be happy to put something together and do that for you guys. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone have a great rest of your week and enjoy spring break next week for your kids.